Welcome to the Grow Your Business for Good show. This is a place where coaches and consultants gather so you can learn how to lead a world-class business that does not tax your time, your energy, or your financial resources. We are your hosts, M. Shannon Hernandez
and Amy Hager of the Joyful Business Revolution. And our number one goal is to bring you clarity and insight on how to grow your business for good. Hey there, welcome. As you can tell, we are only hearing one voice that is very familiar to you today. Shannon is not joining us for this season. And so instead, I'm sharing the mic with some amazing clients who have a variety of stories from all around the world. And if you haven't joined us in the past, I'm Amy Hager, lead coach at the Content Personality Club and community curator at the Joyful Business Revolution and host here of the Grow Your Business for Good podcast. My co-host is M. Shannon Hernandez. And as I said, she is not joining us this season. And so with me today is Amy Flo-Yo. So you are getting two Amy's today, and I guarantee this is going to be fun. So we call Amy Flo-Yo in these parts. And Amy has a beautiful story of doubling her revenue in her travel business during the pandemic, which just kind of sounds absolutely insane and like a magical unicorn in the universe. But it was really, really strategic on the shifts that she had made in her business, but also staying super consistent with her content creation. So we're going to dive down that rabbit hole in just a second. But Amy, introduce yourself to the audience. Who are you? Where are you? And dive in a little bit deeper of how you help people.
Sure. I'm Amy Flores-Young, which is where the Flo-Yo comes from, especially in communities like this one where there's, I think, 6 Amy's now. So yes, everyone just calls me Flo-Yo, and that started right before kind of the pandemic, and it stuck to the point where I updated all of my branding and my website to the Flo-Yo name. So we are now floyotravel.com. That's where you can find us. And yes, I am a full service travel professional, but as Amy alluded to, strategically, I focus in a few very specific niches, word of the week. And one of those is retreats and events. So planning for thought leaders and coaches and consultants and people who want to be leaders of the events and not necessarily managers of the events. So we do a lot of that. And also focus in a niche for disability and accessible travel for people with chronic health needs. Wow. And then, of course, we do a lot of other fun things like an adult travel club and the more traditional travel.
Right.
That's what we do. And we service, obviously all over the world. And we're here to give you more ease and joy in your travel so you can kind of reclaim what we once had with travel. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and so then during the pandemic, I would say that your industry was one of the hardest hit, right? And so what do you do with an earthquake? Like, that's all I can think is like how it just shook. And so you really looked at the structure of your business first. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the first steps that you took was you really actually started to charge fees instead of working off of commission only. Mm-hmm. And so tell me a little bit about that shift. It had to be scary and completely unusual for you.
So in the travel realm, what a lot of people may or may not know is that as a travel agent, travel professional, we don't get paid until you actually travel.
Right.
So once you're home and laundry's done and you're back into the routine, then those commission checks for the places that we have relationships with that pay commissions, those come in.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of upfront work for a hopeful payout on the back end. Because if you cancel that trip or there's a pandemic and all of your business note doesn't travel, you don't get paid for any of that work that you did up front. So there has been a shift in the industry, at least I've seen it, to charging fees, and it's a big hot topic. But So yeah, we really kind of through, thankfully, the content creation club and all of the things that Amy and Shannon do, I really looked deeply at how we were messaging,
Mhm.
what we were messaging, and changed it to really educate people.
Mm.
Like you're saying, like educate on how we do and don't get paid and how travel really works on our end, and started pushing the message that I am a full service travel professional, but I do not sell travel, right? We really worked on that and explaining that to
Yep.
people. I don't sell travel.
You're a
Um,
full service travel professional who doesn't sell travel. Like,
right.
how crazy does that sound?
Because what we, we sell my service and my knowledge and information,
Your expertise.
the expertise of it all, and like the fun. I'm from Massachusetts, so born and bred masshole, as we're known as. So like one of my kind of go-to taglines at the beginning of the pandemic was, and continues to be, you don't need me to book your crappy vacation.
Oh my gosh.
Like, but if you're just looking for that, what's the best deal?
Yeah.
I am not going to get you the best deal.
No.
I'm going to get you what's appropriate at, at a good price point.
Right.
But if you're looking for like, I just want what's the, cheapest trip to Jamaica.
Yep.
Yeah, Google it, and use a third party seller. I will never be able to beat the prices of a third party seller.
Yeah. And so then that education piece of the audience and really, well, your audience and plus anybody new to your world was super key early on in really making this shift. And
Yeah.
so when you were creating your content, we say this a lot in this brand, consistency is key.
Yep.
And tell me a little bit, like, what were some of the things that you did to really get this message out there?
Yeah, so it was, and again, we threw, as they say, you throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall and see how it goes. So of
Well, we
course,
playfully experimented is what
yeah,
I
exactly.
say.
We kind of tested and played around with a lot of things, but like you said, it was an earthquake. It was bigger than an earthquake, right?
Right?
It was a bomb. Let's not, the world blew up, and I don't want to minimize that.
Yeah, no.
But once the shock of the shake wore off, and it was like, okay, it's not a month, it's not 3 months, it's not 4 months. Okay, now what are we going to do? This is how things are going to be. And again, we're going into about 3 years now, and it's still kind of how it is. There's still
Yeah. Simple
pandemic
enough.
variables that we're dealing with and all of those things. So I had to look at it from, okay, things are never going back. So how do we go forward?
Yeah.
And in doing that, like you said, we played around with a lot of things, and a few of them were from a business standpoint, strategically deciding what can people pay for now that they can use later.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to keep some revenue coming in somehow. And as you know, many travel-based businesses did not survive. Um, and one of the things people can plan for in advance as we move forward were kind of those events, retreats, those larger group, for lack of a better way to say it, type of events where, because there is a lot of strategy and long-term planning, those you can
Right.
plan a year out, if not longer. So we started working and really messaging and reaching out to that clientele. And
Yeah.
that's how Flo-Yo Travel was able to, like we said, double our revenue during a pandemic year. So now all of those events that we're dreaming and incubating, as soon
Yeah.
as restrictions were, lifted and things were coming back, they're all out there traveling, selling. All those coaches and consultants and companies are out there doing those events now.
Right.
So they were ahead of the game and ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we did. And like you said, yeah, we did that through live interviews with people who had done those types of events in the past.
yeah.
And I did, I was showing up weekly
Yeah.
online.
You
And like
really
I said,
were.
we
You were there.
just kept showing up saying, this is, and again, educating people on the trends, what was happening, how things were going, and how they could be proactive about it versus, as I do, not looking at all the negative pieces, but how are we going to move past this and move forward?
And I think that that hopeful message throughout the doom and gloom, just one, really attracted some very beautiful ideal clients to you. But two, you could have gone the other way. You could have gone down that rabbit hole of I'm closing my business. This is too fucking hard.
Yeah.
Right? And so why'd you stay open?
And I have a lot of friends, obviously, in the travel industry too, that didn't necessarily close their business, but probably started, I won't say slinking back, but not posting as much, not sending out as, because again, there weren't big travel specials or anything out there to promote. Exactly. So they didn't stay.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, we don't have travel specials and great venues right now to promote. Yeah. So what can we promote?
And you figured out that what can we promote?
And even earlier on in the pandemic, we were doing a lot of, check out this virtual tour.
Oh yeah.
Whatever, because everybody was just looking for something, and YouTube had so many of, that was a big thing. So we were able to keep people excited. Yeah. Or hopefully, hopeful about travel and possibilities, and that the world is still out there, even though we're not touching it in the same way. And you're right, I think that's what it was, is that we stayed positive. Mm-hmm. And looked to constantly, everything we were putting out was about the future, not about the now and what is, and, oh, this is what's closed. This is what's happening. This is what it was, it'll be there, it'll be there in the future. So let's look at what would be the best fit for you in the future.
Let's take a quick break and pause.
Join the Joyful Business Revolution community this February for a public service project for coaches and consultants called Fall Deeper in Love with Your Business. This project was designed for those of us who are moving away from draining business growth practices. And instead, we are choosing to fully embrace business growth in a way that is more joyful and more sustainable.
23 impactful coaches and consultants have come together to answer one question. How has staying true to you helped you fall deeper in love with your life and business?
We invite you to join us for this important community conversation. You can join us at www.joyfulbusinessrevolution.com/deeper.
Now back to the show. So I think the three things that I'm hearing from you that maybe we learned the most from working with you in the pandemic is, one, taking a look of how you were charging and how you were working with people, so your business structure. 2, being future focused in your messaging. And then 3, really staying consistent. Again, you showed up week in and week out and talked about what you were seeing. You were the expert to go to. And you were also the most hopeful person to go to, because you really stayed out of the doom and gloom and talked about what you can do right now, but also, like we said, what you can do in the future. And I think those are 3 very valuable lessons that any business owner could take from, right, whether we're in a pandemic or not, right?
Right. And now that, not that the pandemic is gone, but we are in a new place, in a different place, and people who are ready to travel are traveling, and things are open as they can be, and all of those things. So again, focusing on those who are ready and how to be proactive about, travel insurance, and like all of those things that to make it the best possible event that it can be for all of the participants, not just the leader.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that we didn't even get time, and maybe could be a completely separate episode, about how you really focus on the leader, getting out of the junk and the weeds and the logistics and allowing them to stay in their expertise and for you to be in your expertise. And I think also simplifying that relationship with your ideal client was super duper key in this new business structure that you really kind of pulled together.
Yeah, but that was all part, again, all part of being consistent, went hand in hand with making sure I was constantly educating on the new system. Not that it was new or groundbreaking. I mean, there's plenty of other businesses and travel people who function this way.
Right.
But allowing people in my network and sphere to understand, this is how I work. This is how I work with you and help you, and not just selling you a package. It's so much more than that. It's so much deeper than that. And I will say it was the content club, little plug for the content club people. It was showing up weekly. And again, not that I was there every week, but even when you had to skip a week, all of it was there to keep that creativity going of, okay, what else can I share?
Yep.
How can I give them a peek? What should I be talking about? How can I give them a peek behind the curtain? And just like all of that was not done in a silo with just me puking out live videos every week.
Right. I do think some of your best content is created in that collaborative environment where you're tossing out ideas that you have and really getting feedback on how to make it so it resonates best with your ideal audience, which is exactly what we want to be doing in the club.
Yep. Exactly. And that's how I stayed consistent, is because I had those prompts and check-ins of, all right, this is a great idea to talk about. Okay, did you talk about it yet? Did you go? Did you do it yet? And you had people there to not only practice it with, if you will, and make sure your messaging was on target, but then to hold you accountable to actually do it. So that's really like, it was great to have a whole new, ball of content to talk about.
Yeah.
But just to have some support in a structure and how to do it was really key. And like you said, so that was one reason it was easier to stay consistent while things were blowing up. Yeah.
Well, Flo-Yo, I love this. And just being able to be with you on this journey, the good days, the bad days. But again, I applaud you and I honor you. You've showed up consistently. You've been showing up in service and in education. And again, you really have helped so many leaders look at how they can engage with their coaching and consulting businesses, with their end users or their ideal clients. It's been a really beautiful journey to be on with you. So thank you.
And I appreciate that so much. As I tell you all the time, I would not be on it without you. I wouldn't be where I am without you, for sure.
Well, thanks for joining me today on our season 3, which is featuring special guests. There's stories of how they've really turned things around with their businesses, how they've reimagined their businesses, and how they've been able, I guess Flo-Yo's nailed it on the head, to consistently show up in service, building those beautiful relationships to really attract those ideal clients. So Flo-Yo, thank you for joining me today.
Of course.
And I will see you on our next episode. If you haven't had a chance to go back and check out season 1 and season 2 of the Grow Your Business for Good podcast, go ahead and take a pause and really explore learning more about our content personality and why this is important to your business. Flo-Yo and I didn't even really get a chance to talk through much of that today. And I look forward to seeing you at my next episode. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Grow Your Business for Good podcast with your hosts, M. Shannon Hernandez and Amy Hager.
Head over to www.joyfulbusinessrevolution.com/quiz to take the content personality quiz and join our community. And remember our mantra, if it ain't joyful, we ain't doing that shit.
If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the show, leave a review, and spread the good news with other coaches and consultants.